Hello, I'm Maddox, and my co host Dwight is with me today. This is For the Love of Creatives podcast, and today our guest is Makund Kuntimad. Woohoo!
Hello.
Welcome, Makund. We're so glad to have you here today. So, I guess I just want to tell the audience that the way we know you is probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were at a creatives mixer here in town, the Tower Club, a beautiful space, lots of art, lots of cool people, and that's how we met Makund. And we invited him, and here he is. So that's how the magic happens. Makund, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Mukund. I'm an artist, 2D animator to be specific. Yeah, so I met Maddox and Dwight at the Tower Club event. These guys were pretty awesome. They gave off like the best vibes when I met them. It was like super cool. And I'm a creative. Like I said, 2D animator. I'm also a storyteller. I work on all stages of the animation pipeline. Storyboarding, pre-production, post-production, all things like that. And overall, I'd say I like to like tell stories with my animation, make people laugh, make people cry. All the whole gamut of emotions. And I'd say just taking those skills and merging things from both the past, the future, and the present to just tell amazing stories and awesome things overall.
Sounds wonderful to me. And we got the privilege of seeing some of his animation the night we met him, and it's very unique. It's very unique, and it was very playful and quite good.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
thanks. I appreciate that.
yeah, your sample was really engaging. I could have watched for hours.
Oh well, if you wanted to watch for hours, I got so many dead reels, but believe me, you'll be like, what the hell am I watching?
He can have plenty if he asks for it, right?
Oh yeah. Whether you want it, that's a different story.
So I want to dive in with a question we try to enter into each conversation a little bit differently. And this may or may not apply, and it's okay for you to tell me if it doesn't apply. But my question is a cultural question.
Mhm.
Every culture is a little bit different, and I'm curious to know culturally, your family, your friends, and the people beyond. When you decided to become a creative and do what you do, was that something that culturally was an acceptable thing and was supported, or was that something that was frowned upon? Because we've certainly heard some stories where some cultures, if there's a certain like thing you need to be to really be honored by that culture. And so I'm curious about your experience.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me, my throat's acting up a little bit today.
No problem.
So yeah, so culturally, my parents are immigrants from India. They came here in about the 1980s. So I'd say so India does have like a very like rich history of like art and creatives. So like if you look at the ancient times and even the modern times, so much is being produced that's like so visually stunning and Loki it is honestly one of the things that I'd say wanted me to make me be an artist at a young age, just seeing all this cool art from the Indian subcontinent. I'd say like as far as officially determining when I wanted to be a career artist, I'd say that can date back to maybe if I'm being generous, maybe when I was in the eighth grade, when I was like doing like the typical, comic strips for instead of, doing my homework, yada yada yada. But yeah, so when I kind of expressed that towards my parents, like they never shot it down, let's say. They never did shoot it down. They did like encourage me to do like art, but they always did kind of have this like hesitation in their minds where it's like, which is an understandable hesitation because, artists, it is tough. I'm not gonna lie. It is very, very tough. Like to break out there, get noticed, and overall, it is the starving artist cliche comes from somewhere, am I right? So yeah, they did kind of try to push, like, okay, maybe make it a side thing and, maybe do something, like computer science or engineering, which actually I did. I did. I actually got my first degree in computer science. So whether or not that was like the right thing to do, that's up for interpretation. Like I don't regret the science degree in the slightest, but I'd say there was always that hesitation where I'm like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing in this whole degree. It's like I would try so hard to just like phase out what I was being heard. And overall, it definitely wasn't like the most enjoyable degree for me. Like I still got it done, don't get me wrong, but it was very much just like why am I doing this? Overall, the whole time I'm just kind of talking to my parents, trying to convince them that, like it's a suitable career to be in animation. And again, they never did shoot it down, but it is very much like, the whole like passive, like try to like put this to the side. But overall, I did kind of like whittle them down for lack of a better term. And like I'd say like the big breaking point I say was in 2019 when I found this program online. It was called Don Bluth University. And Don Bluth is actually if you don't know, is a famous animator who worked at Disney back in the golden era. And he actually formed his own studio in the 1980s. And he produced films like Land Before Time, American Tail, classics like that. And I actually applied for his program. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I sent some side work I did. I applied, and next day I got a call from the university saying I actually got in, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? Like the very next day, I was like, what? I was not expecting anything out of it. So I got the call, and one thing I was terrified was I'm like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm still in college. I got to tell my parents this. How can on earth am I gonna I'm gonna choose this? So I decided, it's best for me to just suck it up. And I go to my parents, I tell them I got into this, and they were actually 100% supportive. And I was like, well, where was all of this when I was younger? So I think there was kind of the subconscious thing, like the fact that I was so persistent about it. They're like, okay, clearly this is what he wants to do. We shouldn't keep him from it. So I do it. I do the whole program. I do great, and obviously like the whole. I tried to explain to them who Don Bluth is, all that, like I just tried to do right now. And I think they did. They did kind of like. We're like, okay, so this is an established guy. He took some interest in me, and so I went to the program, did great in it, and overall they liked it. And after the Don Bluth program, I finished in 2020s, which was obviously not the best time to finish. Like we all remember 2020, even though we don't want to. And there was supposed to be a master class at the end of it, but that got delayed indefinitely. Eventually, it did happen in 2022, but again, lucky it happened. And after I finished that, it was a very much dead air. It was just dead air. I didn't know what the hell was going to go on. I couldn't like nobody was hiring for any jobs. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go out and do anything. I was like, what am I going to do? And on top of that, I'm just kind of just stuck here living with my parents, seeing what's happening. So I was kind of looking for other options, and for some reason, I thought, well, why don't I just go to school again? So I decided to just do some research. I researched schools, like especially with animation, and I've stumbled upon a few options. And then one option popped out, a school I'd never heard of. It was called the Rochester Institute of Technology. So I did some research, and I was like, how have I never heard of this school? This is actually incredible. They have such a good program in animation. So I did some research, and then I found out why I never heard of it. I live in Texas, and Texas does not like to advertise schools outside of Texas that much. Like you see ads for like you for UT and all the Texas schools all the time. I'm like, oh, I have never heard of RIT. So I apply again, not knowing what happened, and then months and months and months and months and months pass, and then I got a letter saying that I got accepted, and again this whole light bulb went off. I'm like, oh great, what's happening? So I show this to my parents, and once again they're very supportive. So I think it does come down to like the sheer effort I was putting into this to show that yes, I want to do this. I'm getting in touch with people and I'm trying to apply for programs to better myself. I'd say that did like prove to them like because I have a drive for it, they know I'm going to make it work, and it did show them that this is a viable option. So I'd say like yeah, the cultural thing very much was there, especially the stereotype, like you got to be an engineer, you got to be a CS guy. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters too much because like if you do want to be an artist, you should be an artist. Like whether you do it for a career or not, it's just gonna happen. Like things do just will kind of happen for you that way. You just have to be persistent about it, and just keep practicing and getting better. And if someone will notice you eventually, or someone will give you the chance, and you just got to seize it.
Well, I think it's amazing that the two things that you applied for, you got snatched up, with both of them. That says a lot, especially the one that responded the next day. I know you probably already know this, but we hear a lot of stories, and your story is one of the better stories when it comes to the cultural thing in family. We've heard some stories where the family never ever became supportive, never was okay with it, and we've even heard some where they said they were shunned by not only the immediate family but extended family as well, because it was like a placed a shame on their family for not being the right profession. And so I think You're really, really fortunate to have the parents that have supported you.
Yeah, 100%. And then unfortunately, I do know people who it hasn't worked out for too, unfortunately. And what I do notice is like it really is sad because like again, it's the whole it like is the whole cultural stereotype, you know. It's, you know, you gotta do this, you gotta be this one thing, you have to go into STEM, you have to do things like that. There's all those stereotypes. But again, it's like, yeah, that's one option, but like, guys, look at all cultural art of it. Doesn't even matter what country it is. Like every single country has like a deep rooted history in the arts and the humanities and just overall all creative in general. Like it's the fact these stand the test of time too. It's like if you look at Asian countries, they have all these beautiful structures that are still standing. They have these gorgeous paintings that were made. And the fact that it's being discouraged now, it's kind of disheartening because it's like, do you just want to put a stop to all of that? Like, did you just think like, okay, these are fine, like you don't need to do these? Because like, you know, this stuff has to evolve over time too, right? Like more art does have to be produced. You can't just be satisfied with what was made. Like same thing with like science and technology research. Like it's currently evolving, and so is art. So if you put a hard stop to that, then you're just not gaining anything out of that. So you do need to encourage creative sparks, not shut them down.
I would love to know what you think, but here's my theory. I don't think we choose to be artists. I think that art chooses us.
I 100% agree.
You did not have a choice in this. You could deny who you were. You certainly had a choice to deny, but you were born to be an artist.
I agree with that actually. Yeah, you know, my parents actually said the same thing. Like they kept saying like, you know, we did try to like push them towards other things, but they told me like from the day you were born, from the day you were a child, you showed artistic capabilities and presence, and then you kept fighting for what you wanted, and then here you are today. You're animating. You're being doing exactly what you want to do. It's like, again, the path isn't what's important. The path can either be a straight line or it can literally be like a zigzag with loops. If you're familiar with a good place, it's Jeremy Bear Me even. But like, yeah, it's like the destination will be something, but like the path you get there, it's not the same for everybody. Everybody's journey is different, and
Well,
because everyone's circumstance is different.
exactly. And it will be difficult. But what industry could you be in that it wouldn't be difficult? It just would
Exactly.
be a different kind of difficult.
Hmm.
That's right. There's
The starving artist thing may be a difficult thing to get seen and to get out there. But if you were in a corporate job, now you're dealing with a corporate machine, and there's a whole set of challenges and things that are really hard with that. There's nothing that we do in this life that's particularly easy.
Exactly.
So you just have to pick your pain, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's like even like with it like internalized within like, so let's narrow it down to like animation in particular. It's like, so they say like not it's true. Nothing is inherently easier. Like even if you think something is easier on the surface, it will pose like more inherent challenges. Like one of the more fairly recent things I could think of is like, you know, like when animation did come entered the 21st century. There was the whole like so like CGI was fairly new at the time, and on the surface, like especially to like outsiders, it was like, oh, this is so much easier. It's like you don't have to draw hundreds of drawings. You just make a model, make it do stuff, and then there, it's call it a day. Okay, well, great. You said take a model, make it do stuff. How do you make it do stuff? That's still animation, pal. It's like you're still going and acting in there. You're creating a performance. Like, yeah, it may appear easier because like it's all in a computer, but like the computer is just kind of it's a source. It's a thing that holds everything. It can help you with some little nitty-gritties, but at the end of the day, it's still you're still taking that computer model and you're still making a performance out of it. You're just not drawing the drawings, you're just taking the puppet, the digital puppet, and you still have to create it. You still have to create emotion, and then like it's still going to be inherently hard. It doesn't, again, nothing is inherently easy.
Yeah, it's just a different route.
yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
different path to mastery.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that with anything that any new skill that you acquire, there's got to be a point where you got to be good with not being great at it
Mm-hmm.
and get over that to actually make it to a point where you can make it sing.
No, yeah, don't have to tell me twice about that.
You
So
go ahead, Dwight.
I think it's great that you had the support of your parents, but I'm curious as to what it was like with the greater surrounding community, especially coming up and being this creative child?
It wasn't easy, especially growing up. So it's just taking into account a lot of my peers that I interacted with in school growing up. Like I was obviously like very, I would just like, shelter myself off, like do my drawings. The thing is, I didn't really want to do that per se. I just kind of felt like I had to do that because like I always see the whole, again, growing up, I heard the stereotype, like, you're the angsty artist who like secludes themselves from everybody, the popular kids, all that stuff. But yeah, it definitely didn't do me any favors growing up because I was always seen as like the weird kid. It's like people liked my art, but like again, like looking back on that art, I'm like, wow, people like this. This is so terrible. Which I mean is a good thing. It means I'm evolving. But like like to take that into account. But like nobody actually wanted to interact with me per se because I was just being so weird and closed off. But like looking back, I think that was kind of a thing of circumstance in the sense that I did just kind of want to be different, because like my peers I saw, they were very much, like trying to do the same things. Like a lot of them were trying to do honestly what their parents wanted to, for lack of a better term. It's like I'm not sure if they genuinely wanted to just like take the path they were doing, or it's just like their parents told them they have to take this path, and that's what's happening, and that's what's happening. Now, some people did genuinely enjoy them, which I'm happy for them, and obviously I don't know what everyone's up to now. So for all I know, they took their own paths, and you know what? More power to you. That's amazing. But yeah, as a kid, I just really did not want to be part of the whole cookie cutter mold thing. And I'd say that at the end, obviously, I think it did work out for me. Like I don't really regret anything per se. But if I did have to go back and change one thing about me, I would say just first of all, I'd slap myself in the face for like, okay, for that's for all the stuff you're gonna do between now and the point where it came in the future. Like you'll know what I'm talking about when I see it. But I'd say like, first of all, stop closing yourself off and get out there, embrace who you are. You don't have to be what others tell you are, and you know that, so embrace it. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. Just do what you want to do. And obviously, and the fact that I'm realizing that now, it really has encouraged me to go out and do what I wanted. Like I came to you guys' event, right? And I had a blast doing it, talking to people about art. Honestly, just a whole bunch of art nerds talking about art. It was really amazing.
I think ownership is really important, and that's what you're describing. People say, "Oh, you're not your job," and that's true.
Mm,
But when we're creatives, it's not a job. I
mm,
mean, in some regard it is, but I think for me, we start off having it be something that we do. You do animation, but there's a point to where it becomes something you are. Instead of I'm doing animation, I'm an animator. And when that ownership happens, everything shifts. Universally, I mean, the universe reacts to that. I mean, do you recall, the day that it went from me being somebody that did animation to really owning that you were an animator? Do you recall that?
I'd say I didn't really accept the fact that I was an animator until I would say it wasn't until I moved out of my house to go to Rochester for RIT, because I did the computer science degree, right, and then I ended off doing the Don Bluth program thing, right. Even there, I did see myself like I'm an animator in the sense like I'm doing all the assignments, I'm animating, right. But obviously I was still like very inexperienced doing whatever I could there. So I was just kind of treating it as very much like like a job sort of thing then. But then when I finally did move out of the house and I was very much just like on my own, like and then I had to do all these assignments from RIT. It was a matter of something clicked, and I'm like, I'm not in the same room that I was in when I was 10 years old anymore. I'm like, I can really just like go all out here. It's like when I look at this art, I'm like, I can just like go full out. It's literally is a fresh start for me. It's like I can just like dig in my mind, I can see new experiences, and just overall, and then it hit me. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of saying I'm a guy who does art. I'm an artist. I'm an animator. Like that is who I am. It's like this is a part of my life. And I'm not shutting it down anymore.
Okay, so we're onto something here. I mean, this is what I'm digging for. So you finally came to the point where you took ownership. I am an animator. What shifted as a result of that? Was there any significant shifts in either in internal shifts or, of course, internal shifts are always followed by external shifts. Tell us about internal and external shifts, please.
Right. So I'd say so the biggest external shift, like I mentioned, was like I find like I moved out of Dallas and like lived on my own for a while, right? So I'd say that that was a big factor in my internal shift because obviously I lived in like even the house I'm in right now. Oh, hold on, my laptop's dying. So, there we go. So yeah, I moved out of Dallas for the first time, and I was on my own. So this I'm obviously in my childhood house right now, and so the thing is, like I mentioned, like that was that whole thing about me growing up, right? The person I was. I'd say even now to like a tiny extent, not as much as it used to be. If I'm currently in this house where I was, where I experienced all of this, it just feels like even though a lot has happened since then, I'm kind of just back to where I was, for lack of a better term. It's like I know I'm not the same person, like I've definitely changed, but being in that same environment, it just kind of feels like I am like subconsciously reverting back to like that, that sad teenager who just felt like he had to close himself off. So I'd say moving away and just really figuring out who I was on my own really did force me to like reevaluate who I was like now. Because like all the things I associated with past memories, they're gone. They're very much just like not currently with me. And I was in a new place, like new people and new friends at that, new classmates who actually were on my same wavelength. We're learning the same things. We're not learning calculus, we're learning about storyboarding. So that too is like that especially. It's like being with peers like who I know like associated with me really did help me think like, okay, I'm in a new place and I'm actually like interacting with people about the stuff I like to do. So really, so again, like the new location plus like again a new community with people on the same wavelength really helped me like accept the fact like I am this and not someone I'm pretending to be. Like I took off the mask for lack of a better term.
You're really
That's
getting into
great.
what we're all about here, and that is about the impact of community. So, yeah, keep going. Dwight, you got something for him?
No, I think that you're really spot on. I mean, just hearing about how you had your classmates and you were all going through the same struggles, you were grafting onto that knowledge surface, and I'm just envisioning how you were all growing together.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, now I feel like it's a good time to talk about my RIT experiences. So yeah, so when I got there, it was a very small class. Like I applied for the graduate program, obviously, and it was a very small class of literally 10 people, and I was actually the only boy in that class, believe it or not.
Wow,
That was it. That was interesting.
that's surprising. I
Yeah,
would
so
have
it was,
thought animators would have been, that industry would be more male than female. That surprises me.
that actually is interesting too, because like what obviously when I watched as a kid, when I would see like behind the scenes documentaries about animation, like everyone I would see was a male, right? Everyone is male. Like it's the males they're showing you all the things. Like you see some women here and there, but they did it was very much like the males giving the interviews. But then I actually had a class in the first semester. It was called Animation Film Language, and our professor she actually went over the statistics of animation, and she showed us a little pie chart, and it said that like a lot of the animators are like slowly becoming like there are getting to be more female animators than male animators, and I was actually kind of surprised. I was like, really? That's not what I expected. But again, then I looked in my class. I'm like, oh, I'm the only guy. You know what? I believe it. I'm like literally, I'm like Exhibit A. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Now,
But yeah,
so,
like,
oh, go ahead.
but yeah, like I did find that kind of funny because I'm like, the funny thing is like, how do I put this? I never felt like I was the only guy, oddly enough. It's like that honestly never it didn't come up at all. Like, okay, it came up as a joke every now and then, but like never seriously. Because like we were all there vibing about animation. We weren't there like to discuss like, oh, why are you're the only dude doing this? No, we all had the same goals and the same ideas and we just worked towards them together. So that's what I really appreciated about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like it's kind of like we always talk about how the differences really don't matter.
Mhm.
You're all there to vibe on the one thing that's drawn you there, and everything else is just superficial.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well said, Dwight. So, um, during that time, do you think that all of the other people were animators as well? Do you think it would have been a different situation if you'd have been in a creative community that had been other creatives, but different forms of creativity, not necessarily animators?
I yeah, I'd say so. Like so like branching off that a little bit. So we had 10 we had the class of 10 animators, right? Within our class there were also like maybe like four or five like live action film producer students, not animation but live action, but still under the film umbrella. So but then branching off of that, like we did have to take like some elective classes like where we had to take other like art mediums too. So I actually decided to take a metalwork class because I just thought it sounded interesting, and that's where we all kind of branched off. Some people took glasswork, some people took metalwork, some people took clay, some people took wax. While I was in that metalwork class, obviously I was like the only animation student there because it's open for the whole university to take anyone can take it, and I'm low key just surprised like we have students here like from all departments. We have like engineering students, we have business students, and like uh, and again, it struck me like when the professor came out to tell us, everyone was like laser focused on him. Like I got the sense that nobody was here just to take this as a blow off class. Everyone took this because they were interested in the craft, and I was interested in the craft too. And I was just like, okay, so not all these people are artists, but like they're very much engaged in this. So no, knowing that, I'm like that anyone of any discipline can put so much creativity and passion into things that they don't necessarily do on a regular basis. So yeah, like if you combine like a bunch of different creatives, like it can definitely like provide a lot more insight as well.
Well, and you're demonstrating what I say all the time, and that is we're not limited to one community. We talk about community like it's this just thing right out here. And we have many communities that we are part of all at the same time.
Mhm.
Sometimes it may just be you and one other person, but anytime there's two or more, it's a community, if we're going
Mhm.
to be really honest.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, no, for sure. So like we've been talking about this whole thing, like, at one point you just kind of accept like this is who I am, right? Like, I'm an animator. I insert X artist here. But again, like I'm not gonna say like that's all who I am either. Like definitely not. There is obviously more to me than that. So like I'd say that moment when you finally accept who you are is one thing. Like that's just part of a huge web of like who you are. It's like there's a whole bunch of things like there's your experiences. There's the friends you made growing up, new friends you keep making now. Like this may be like who I am. Again, not even just on a professional level, but just like on a spiritual level too. But like again, like it's only one element. Like there's a whole bunch of building blocks that make you who you are. And again, that's also why I keep saying like even though I do have like there are some things I might want to change like if I had the ability to change the past. I don't think I should because like at the end of the day like all those events leading up to now, they kind of made me who I am. And if I change one thing, it's like who knows what will be. I might not be here right now. It's like
Exactly. Exactly. I agree 100%. You know, we're so quick to think we would go back and change things, but I doubt it would work out that way. I just,
exactly.
it's like there's a reason we experience what we experience, and it is made us who we are today. So you talked about coming back into the family home and kind of feeling a little bit of regression, kind of like slipping back into some old habits, feeling like a teenager again. What what would if you were going to take a step towards um, re-embodying that I am an animator and feeling like you felt when you were in Rochester, but doing it while still being here in the Dallas area and living in the family home, what could you do? What might you do that would help you bridge that gap and get back into that energy of, you know, where you were that you loved so much when you were at that training in that school?
Well, I'd say definitely the first step is to, like for like, this place got I gotta look the part first. So right now I'm actually in my old bro in my brother's old room. It's like and as you can see right now, like I kind of got a little in the screen a bit. I got a little tablet here. I got a light box in the back. I got like God knows how many plushies up there. But yeah, I basically transformed this room into my studio for lack of a better term. So I'd say that is step one. Like first of all, like you gotta have if you want to do something, you gotta have the space for it. So I basically transformed this into my space. And at the same time, I got to keep learning new things because like while I was in Rochester, I was learning things I didn't know. So even though like I have finished that and like I'm technically a career animator now, that doesn't mean I need to stop learning new things. I keep trying to force myself to like branch out, like add things to my portfolio that I might not be as good at right now. Like there's things currently right now that I am still trying to improve on that I admit like I'm not exactly the strongest at. But I do want to get better because I feel like it will benefit me long term. So I'd say it's mainly just like, get some like get a little bit of space and just keep learning new things and that'll just keep you moving forward and stop you from like moving backwards.
And what about community?
There we go. Back to community too. Like again, even when I got back to Dallas, I started branching out to more creative events too. Like for example, I met both of you at the Tower Club event, and that has also given me sort of out of a reinvigorated search. Like even after the Tower Club event, I had attended a mixer for the Dallas International Film Festival where it was just all film people talking, which was a wholly different experience altogether. And then of course I came to your guys' mixer, and also just the fact that knowing like I know Dallas isn't exactly known as like a creative hub, but like the fact that there are a ton of creatives in Dallas who are like showing off what they can do and trying to make things better themselves, like it really is a little bit of a shock to the system for lack of a better term. It's like, oh wow, I'm really not alone in this. Like I'm not that like lonely little kid I was like ages ago. Now I know people who have the same goals as me, and let's make them happen together.
Awesome. Are you familiar with Creative Mornings?
I heard about it maybe 5 times while I was at your event.
Yep. Definitely want to check it out. We
For
don't ever
sure.
miss a meeting. It's pretty amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%.
it's a
And it's
terrific group.
global. It's
Yeah.
all over the globe. It's big.
Yeah, 270 cities or so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So 70 countries. Is it 70? Is that right, Dwight? 70
I think so.
countries?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
70. Wow, that's more than I
Yeah.
expected.
There's a chapter in Fort Worth. There's chapters in most of the major cities in the United States. So if you're a traveling person, you can even bob around and go to different creative mornings. But yeah, they have how many thousands, Dwight, of members now?
Oh my goodness. Well,
67,000 or something like that.
yeah, it's a ridiculous number. It's
It's huge.
incredible.
It's huge. We highly recommend it. Um, but let's talk a little bit about challenges. What, in your experience to this point, your creative journey, what perhaps has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome? The thing that may have kicked your butt, and maybe you're to the other side of it, and maybe you're not. Maybe you're still getting your butt kicked.
I'd say it's just accepting the fact, like, like you may be getting better, but someone's still better at you than what you're doing. Like, I especially learned this like really hard while I was in Rochester. Like, yeah, like I may have been like a really like back then I may have been a solid like artist animator for the time being. Then I go to a place where there's like actual like industry profession like former industry professionals who are teaching, and I'm just like I really don't know a damn thing, do I? But then even after graduating, it's like then I'm leaving. I'm like I learned then like I keep looking up stuff and I keep drawing stuff. I'm like I still don't know a damn thing, do I? It's like I know more than I did, but it's like there's endless knowledge out there and endless practice. And again, it's like some skills I've developed like a pretty big mastery over, but even then, it's like there's still more that I can do with that. Not even just stuff that like I'm trying to improve on that I wasn't good at, even stuff that I consider myself really good at. It's just a matter of like I know there will always be someone better than me, and just knowing that it's like you know what that does like that's very much like a kick in the pants. And you like don't get too comfortable. You can be proud of what you do, but again, strive just do a little bit more, and then keep striving to do a little bit more after that, and a little bit more after that, and a little bit more after that. And if you just keep shooting high, then you'll end up in a pretty good spot, both artistically speaking and what's the word I'm looking for, like professionally speaking.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it sounds like something that Maddox has shared on many occasions. Uh, you don't necessarily have to be the best. You just have to be unique. You got to be different.
Mhm.
yeah, there's only one spot for the best. I learned a long time ago that trying to be the best was the worst thing I could do to set myself up for failure.
Mhm.
I've spent 40 years in the beauty industry, and I focused on how I could be different from everybody else.
I think it,
And, when you talked about wanting to be better, I always wanted to be better. It didn't You don't have to be the best to be better.
Mhm.
And I discovered throughout that 40-year career that I have suffered from burnout multiple times. And the way I came back from burnout every time was to plug back into the industry and start doing cutting edge education. I'd go back in and I would recreate myself by going back and learning the latest skills that were skills that I didn't currently have. And it would literally infuse energy and fresh blood back into me, my business, my relationship with my clients, all of the above.
yeah. I love the way that you have such an awareness, Mukund. You you were just aware that you never got too high on your own supply. Like you knew that there was somewhere to go. And I think a lot of people can fall into the trap of thinking that everything's great and just being uh, blown away whenever they see someone else that's at a higher level of mastery.
Yeah, I know I have.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge your humility because that's something that's overlooked a lot of times. And I think that, we hit a certain level sometimes and we lose sight of our humility. And that usually ends up sabotaging us some way or another. I don't, no matter how much I've succeeded, I've always said, I make it a point to have a piece of humble pie every day.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. No, I agree 100%. You should like again, like never forget like you had to start somewhere too. Like keep that in mind. Like very much like be humble, be like be aware and be mindful of everyone else. But at the same time, don't let that consume you either. Like it is possible to be too humble to the point where it's like you start ragging on yourself a little bit too much, and that can like inversely affect you too. So like
Yes.
be humble and like, but at the same time, be proud of what you do. Like don't be afraid to show your stuff off. Don't think like, oh no, I'm not good enough and I can't show it. No, you just show it off. Like be proud, but don't be over proud. I think there's a word for that, but I'm totally blanking out on it.
Well, I think if we just keep it to the level of the streets, don't be an asshole, don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. Perfect.
Yes. Yes. So, what would you say is to date, in all that you've shared, your journey, what has been your most profound learned lesson? What's the lesson that you've learned that you can share with us and the listeners?
Hmm. I'd say it's just well like for like first off, just don't stop, don't get discouraged. That's like the biggest one right there. I think everything does tie back to like the whole situation of like you try something, you fail over and over again, you just end up saying I'm not good enough for this. No, you're gonna fail more than you're gonna succeed. Let's just get that right off the table. You are going to fail more than you will succeed. But that one success you get from like all those failures, it will be well worth it when you finally get that thing working or get that piece perfect. You don't know how good you're gonna feel. All those 100 failures, they're gonna seem like nothing to you. They're just gonna seem like little stepping stones that you had to get across just to do it. It's just please do not stop. Do not get discouraged and don't let anyone discourage you either. Like you know what you want to do, you know what you have to do, and just do it.
Mm, wow, I just have not heard that said as beautifully and concise as you just said it. That was amazing.
Well, have you seen a certain Shia LaBeouf video where he literally just ends with just do he just says just do it.
Just keep going. Absolutely. Well, Makun, do you have anything else that you would like to share with the listeners before we move to rapid fire questions?
Um, is this the part where I like drop my handles, or does that come later?
We'll put all that in the show notes. You don't have to say
Perfect,
that out loud. We'll put it all in
per
the show notes.
perfect. Because I'm like I don't know how to spell my Instagram handle. I'm like, well, Yeah, perfect. But just again, creatives and everyone's alike. Again, just keep out what you're doing. You're doing this for a reason. Don't forget that. Don't forget your reasoning, and that will carry you the whole way.
Well, and just yeah, remember that you got a calling and you accepted it. I heard somebody say, you know, something about getting a calling. And I went, the thing that nobody tells you is that we all get the call. Whether you're talking religion or whatever else you're talking about, we all get the call. Some of us just choose not to answer it.
Amen.
Yeah, classic hero's journey right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Rapid question number one. What's a weird habit that you have while creating?
Weird habit that I have while creating is that I will sometimes I will literally just like sink so deep in to a character that I'm thinking of that I literally just like forget that I am like my door. I'll forget that my door is open and I'll be like talking in a funny voice, or I'll just be like doing a weird like pose with my arms. And sometimes my parents will walk by, they're just like, the fuck's wrong with this kid? Like,
Love it.
yeah, like I have my mirror up here to see all my expressions, and like sometimes my face is so contorted that like they'll walk by like they'll just not say anything at all.
It's like that joke about where the punchline is it's fun as long as nobody sees you doing it.
Oh yeah, sure. But even if you see me, I'm not gonna stop. I'll just be like, it's exactly what it looks like.
Okay, next question. What's one word to describe your creative style?
My creative style is very exaggerated and cartoony.
Beautiful. Um, what's one lesson you've learned from your creative community?
Don't bite off more than you can chew. Start small and build upon that. Don't like take a huge bite and then choke on it later.
Oh my God, that's huge. I wish somebody had said that to me 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah, because I
Thank
have a
you
habit
for
of biting off
that.
more than I can chew.
Yes, I frequently bite off more than I can chew. Oh, well, awesome answers. Thank you. This has been an amazing conversation, and the beauty of this is we just get to know people so much better. It's the
Each of
best
these is
part of
Yeah,
amazing.
it.
yeah, definitely. I'm so glad I came. So glad I met you guys at the Tower Club. So glad I came to you guys' event. And like pleasure's all mine. Like doing this podcast. Like I feel like I get to know you guys a lot better too.
Absolutely. Thank you for this. We really appreciate your time and your energy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
again, thanks for having me.